President Biden causing major confusion after a federal judge pulled the plug on his mask mandate for planes and trains. Biden sounding like he wouldn't put up a fight over the ruling.
Mr. President, should people continue to wear masks on planes?
That's up to them.
But then just hours later, his DOJ said it will be appealing the decision if the CDC says it's necessary to keep it in place. And cue the White House to mop up Biden's mess?
The president was answering the question quite literally, which means right now, as you know, we are not implementing the mask mandate because of the court order, which we disagree with. To be clear, we are recommending everyone wear masks on planes. That is what the CDC is recommending. That is the public health guidance we are following.
Meanwhile, the liberals are absolutely losing their minds. New York Times columnist Paul Krugman acting like a total crybaby. He's predicting violence and harassment toward mask wearers after the mandate was lifted. And others are lashing out at the brave judge who struck down the rule.
Perhaps that's the mark of an inexperienced judge.
I don't think this ruling makes a lot of legal sense.
Did announcing the end of the mask mandate literally in the middle of the flight kind of let those a-holes win?
This decision is going to single-handedly accelerate cases throughout the U.S.
It's not only not the right time, it's a little early, but it's not even the right manner in which these mandates were overturned.
This is a legal ruling. It is not a scientific ruling.
Amazing, Dana. I'll start with you. It's a legal and not a scientific ruling, and yet it is a legal ruling based upon the law that Jen Psaki says we're still following the CDC. What's going on?
Well, okay, so to be perfectly clear, it's like the left believes that the court mandated people not wear a mask. That's not what happened. As the president said, it is your personal choice. And if they do appeal this and they get to make arguments, if I was the entity that brought the case in the first place saying that this mandate oversteps its authority, all I would do is play the soundbite from President Biden in which he said, it's up to you. It's a personal choice. The defense rests. Okay, because that's what the court is not saying that you are not allowed to wear a mask. You are if you want to. The other thing is, the way that our system works at the Justice Department is there's an office of the Solicitor General. That is the entity that decides upon appeals. And that's why you see them think, gosh, okay, well, what are we going to do here? The judge says that the CDC overstepped its boundaries. There's not a law that says that the CDC was allowed to do this. The CDC went too far. If the Congress wants to pass a law and the President Biden wants to sign it, they are perfectly in their rights to try to do that so that they could move forward. The other thing that they're concerned about is that, let's say that the CDC says everyone needs to wear a mask through the end of 2022. And the Solicitor General takes that to court, and they lose. Now you've set a precedent that the CDC doesn't have even that authority that they had from the past 2 years. So they're a little bit in between a rock and a hard place. The president is constantly caught up in this thing where he knows what the answer is. The answer is, it's up to you. That's what he said. But then they try to back into it and say, well, actually, because the left is really mad, so now, sir, we have to do this. We're going to ask the Solicitor General is going to defer to the CDC about an appeal. That, to me, is completely backwards.
Agree. You know, Geraldo, you're an attorney. Look, the judge made it very clear. The CDC went beyond its authority. Congress did not give the CDC the authority to make this rule. It didn't give it the authority without at least some additional steps that were not taken. So why are they saying we have to listen to the CDC? And if they decide to appeal, apparently they're thinking about it, waiting on the CDC, which is the dumbest thing I ever heard. The CDC is the reason you lost the case. But aside from that, if they decide to appeal, if they look at those numbers right now, CDC and scientists have to say, this is not a time where we can mandate a mask. We're not in an emergency.
This is a missed opportunity. This is a lot like the recent Supreme Court nominees' confirmation hearings, the last two. There's a chance where people could be gracious, where people could just go with the flow. The president said it is up to us on the masks. The genie is out of the bottle. You can't put it back in. People will not. I'm going to the airport as soon as we finish broadcasting this live show. So should I wear a mask? You're supposed to wear a mask in the terminal now because that's a New York City ordinance. Then when they get on the plane, where there's much bigger crowd and, the much more chance of transmission, there are no masks mandated. So there is illogic now. Biden, in my opinion, missed an opportunity to be that guy, that gracious guy. And to say, even though I disagree with this judge, even if this judge was inexperienced, even if this judge exceeded her authority down in Florida, even if this was a political decision, none of that matters. Americans were sick of the masks. The masks have served their function. Maybe it's true. I heard Claire McCaskill say millions of people's lives were saved by the mask. I doubt that. Maybe thousands were, maybe hundreds were. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. But I do know that now the time of the masks have passed, and it's time for America to move on.
And it's amazing, Joey, that Jen Psaki says, we're going to follow the science and, we think you should keep wearing the mask. Well, the amazing thing is you could take the mask off for the president's State of the Union. A little hypocrisy.
And the gridiron.
Like Geraldo, I'm not a scientist either, but I did fly today, so I have spent a lot of time on an airplane. There are two things at stake here, and none of them have anything to do with science. The first is the government's fight to keep government's control over anything. So I expect the Biden administration to push in defense of the CDC's ability to tell us what we can do, but not over coronavirus. The other thing is Joy Reid was completely honest. He's like, don't let the other team win. Don't let the a-holes win. It has nothing to do with science or health or the fact that immunocompromised people have to worry about pretty much every airborne disease they could catch, not just coronavirus. It has everything to do with, for the last 2 years, we've been in this dogfight, and don't let them win. And that's all it is for them. And at least Joy Reid was honest about it.
And Greg, Paul Krugman saying that that now we can expect violence towards those who are the mask wearers. And the amazing part of that is that this is the same Krugman who predicted that the stock market would crash and never recover if Donald Trump were elected president. This guy won a Nobel Prize.
Well, I'm afraid that he's right. Last night I had gone out to get something to eat, and in my mask, and two guys in red hats, white men in Trump hats, took my mask and told me this was MAGA country. So I think Krugman has signaled a new era. I kind of mentioned this before. They don't know what they're doing, but they're creating a new identity class, which is the masked. And they're also going to be the victim class. That is what Krugman's talking about. Make way for them being penalized and marginalized and smeared and perhaps attacked. Generally, in identity politics, you have people of color, you have women, non-binary, disabled. But now he's anointed masks as identity markers, like a hijab. Or hijab, not sure. I apologize if I got it wrong. But
we know what you mean.
But if the masks are indeed the victims of those in power, then it's kind of interesting because it is like when Islamic countries criminalized not wearing coverings, meaning that if you didn't wear a burqa, you would be beaten or arrested. The leftists in America defended the right for women to wear the burqa when that wasn't the problem. No one was saying don't wear it. They were saying wear it. So what you're seeing right now is you're actually saying, my God, if these are people telling you not to wear a mask when it's your right to wear a mask, this is just like that. When in fact, no, it's not. You're creating an identity class that's now going to be part of a component of this. And now, does that mean that we're going to have hate crimes legislation for the mask? If I choose to wear a mask, will I be appropriating the mask wearer? And will Elizabeth Warren claim that she's 50% mask the next time she runs for office? Will we segregate the mask from the unmasked? Will there be affirmative action? The leftism works this way. Identify a group, identify them as victims, target the oppressor. But I don't think he sees that he's doing it. It's insane.
But when everybody is forced to wear a mask, you're not singled out as someone who believes in the mask religion.
And Biden ran on, I'm going to return everyone to normal. And for 6 months from the midterms, and he's still like, let me think about it.
It's insanity.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.